Hey, it's Sam, and I'm doing the first of two videos on the upcoming Jupiter-Rahu cycle, what's also called the Jupiter-Rahu synodic cycle, which is when the planets come back and join each other. And it's going to be focusing, this first one is on the US presidency and who's next. We're going to be looking at the type of leader that will be next based on this Jupiter-Rahu conjunction, because I've been analyzing the last three Jupiter-Rahu conjunctions, particularly the last two, very correctly and accurately predicted the last two presidents. That would be Obama and Trump. It didn't, it lasted up until the last one in 2016. That was the last Jupiter-Rahu conjunction. Previous one in 2009 happened in Capricorn, which was right before Obama. So we're going to talk about that in this video and then see who's next. We have the rise of an Aries leader who is coming next. So this is actually part of a course that I did that you can get a discount on. It's actually called Vedic Astrology and World Events. You can see the link there at the bottom. It says astrologyisreal.com. I talk about this and other synodic cycles like the Saturn-Rahu cycle, Saturn-Jupiter cycle, and also the ingress of the outer planets into sidereal signs. It's very comprehensive, really mind-blowing for people to be able to correctly look at sidereal zodiac, Vedic astrology, and how to use those indicators and outer planets and lunation cycles, or I should say synodic cycles. I'm also going to be doing part two here to look out for. The last Jupiter-Rahu in Aries cycle happened in 1929. If that year sounds familiar, it was right before the Great Depression, the global depression. It was right at the cusp of the end of the Weimar Republic, right as Nazism was on the rise. And also, it showed a time of legislative, legal abuse and incompetence. This is the last time we had Jupiter-Rahu conjunction. So this is not an insignificant time. We are living in very transformative times because of a lot of reasons. I'm going to be doing some updates on this as well. That includes outer planets. I'm going to be doing more of this on this Vedic Astrology and World Events subject. But again, as it stands now, you can go and get the full course. Discount on that course is only $47 for more than 10 hours of classes. So today, again, like I said, I'm talking about the recent Jupiter-Rahu synodic cycles. And I'm going to start with the one that happened in 2009. That was two synodic cycles ago. On February 12, 2009, at 15 Capricorn, again, this is sidereal zodiac. Again, this is another reason why sidereal zodiac to me is the one to use. It really works. But February 12th, 2009, we had 15 Capricorn. And this was really like the rise of Obama. I say the rise, but the sort of the real origin of the Obama era. Now, he had already been elected. He had been elected in the 2008 election. But again, this is a Capricorn time. And I want to, again, look deeper into what Obama really was rather than what the image was or what have you. But this conjunction happened shortly after Obama was sworn in as president. Again, this was Capricorn. These early months of his presidency was really revolving around cleaning up the banking crisis of 2008. And what happened here in early 2009 and subsequently even really paved the way for the rest of his presidency, it was very much a Capricorn time. So again, I'm using Obama as the symbol, but you should understand that from February 2009 until February 2016, which is when we had the last Jupiter-Rahu conjunction, which was in Leo, we were under the influence of Jupiter-Rahu conjunction and Jupiter-Rahu cycle of Capricorn. So you want to see these cycles. And again, the cycle is about 7 years. I'm tying it to the US president because, as you'll see, it very much is in alignment. It really shows Obama to be much more of a Capricorn figure. By the way, he has a Capricorn ascendant. This is why I'm saying it's very connected, even to the ascendant of the US presidents. So we had this Jupiter-Rahu conjunction at 15 Capricorn, which is Obama's ascendant. And he was very much more of a Capricorn type of president which is not necessarily what you would call liberal. It was much more conservative and measured and pragmatic, and even with healthcare and whatnot, it came with a big bureaucracy where insurance companies were built into it and Wall Street, and it was much more, aside from him as a figure. And again, we can see these when we use astrology, we can see deeper than just some symbol or some illusion about who this person is or was or meant to the country. And it's not to personalize it. It's not Obama was this type of person. Again, people are too emotional about these leaders. And again, we lose the thread when we start looking at the leader through our bias, because there are people who will be hearing this that are like, oh, I liked Obama. Now you're saying he was just a corporate Capricorn oligarch, big business, blah, blah. Yeah, he was. Look at the policies. Again, he's not just that, because he had progressive ideas, and again, relative to the other party and whatnot. But in general, this Capricorn time where we doubled down on certain bureaucracies. I mean, Obamacare is a big bureaucracy as well. It gives health care, which again, that's also Capricorn, to like healthcare, but it comes as a mandate. You have to pay the government this money, or you have to pay the insurance companies this money. Again, it was a time where we doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on the blurring of big business, government. There was even a time, the thing called Citizens United, Supreme Court basically ruled that that businesses are like people and they can give unlimited campaign donations. It was a time with a concentration of wealth into smaller and smaller hands, and a very Capricorn kind of time. And again, it coincides with Obama's ascendant. That lasted until February 2016, where Jupiter Rahu joined in Leo. That's Trump's ascendant. So the last Jupiter Rahu conjunction happened at 28 Leo, and it coincided with the rise of Trump. It happened right when we realized that Trump was actually going to be the Republican nominee. He wasn't just going to implode, or it was actually going to happen, and that he could be president, although it was still considered a long shot at that time. But it coincided with Trump's ascendant, and since then, we've been under the Jupiter Rahu influence of Leo. It's been a Jupiter Rahu in Leo influence. And again, Jupiter Rahu, maybe I should have said this at the very beginning, but Jupiter Rahu brings together Jupiter, which is the prevailing philosophy, and even the leaders that were trying to take us to that philosophy, and even a sort of fanaticism, because Rahu is there. And by the way, Jupiter Rahu conjunction creates what's called a Guru Chandala Yoga in the sky, which disrupts good teachings and shows where we are in darkness around teachings, and in fact believing and projecting illusions onto leaders, and sort of hopium, like fueled by the drug of hopium, like, oh, now I'm attaching my hopes to this figure, this person. But it's also showing a prevailing philosophy that is happening during that time. So 2009 to 2016 was very Capricorn, embodied by Obama. Since 2016, it's been very Leo. Now, again, we can look and see, what does that mean? Well, of course, Trump was a Leo ascendant, and he very much modeled those Leo, machinations of, again, aside from its authoritarian. By the way, there are people on Trump's side, we would say, like the right wing, who think, Biden is the authoritarian. And yes, since that time, it's been the rise of left wing authoritarianism, or domination, right? So you can see how both sides are kind of seeing the same thing. But again, literally, the Jupiter Rahu in Leo has showed a time since 2016 where we're looking to, especially when you look at Trump, kind of empower this one figure, this literally the king. Like, people are looking for there to be a king. And he was like, I'm the king, I'm the businessman, the powerful figure. Everything with Trump and during his presidency, everything was about him. Again, and it became very abnormal in this regard. And it still happens. And if you don't realize the abnormality of it, I'll give you an example. Whenever he talked about, like, our relationship with Russia, Like, what is our relationship with Russia? What is our relationship with North Korea? Again, we just saw an interview not too long ago. And again, Trump acts like our relationship with America to these other countries has to do with his personal relationship with the leader. Well, Putin and I got along really well. By the way, who cares? What about America and Russia? Well, Kim Jong-un and I got along really well. Well, who cares if the leaders like each other? It's two countries. But again, during that time, and by the way, still, very much this kind of projection of the country's interest condensed around one Leo-like figure. And it really has dominated things since February of 2016. We've really seen the rise of that, not just in America, but again, the rise of authoritarian type of king figures. Again, Putin, Xi, even like Netanyahu in Israel, all around the world. But again, the point being, again, I'm not, and it sounds like, again, to people who think Trump is the greatest thing ever, that, oh, now you're just beating up Trump. No, I'm not. But I am saying this is an observable fact. We've never seen it before. If you would have asked Obama about our relations with Russia, he would have talked about Russia. Putin would have been part of it. His relationship with Putin would have probably never even come up, right? And if it did, that wasn't the whole issue. He wouldn't have said he wrote love letters and all other kind of stuff. But the point being that on the other side, of where we're going now, will be this Jupiter Rahu in Aries, which is now coming up in June of this year. And by the way, just to make sure, like I'm saying, from the Republican point of view and the things that Trump would always say, and now you still hear it in right-wing conservative circles, it's that the Democrats they're the authoritarians. They're woke agenda. They're trying to dominate us with the woke agenda and all this kind of stuff. It's the same rhetoric on both sides. It's the same rhetoric on both sides. To them, it's the tyranny of drag shows and, all this stuff that's going on the left wing, right? And socialism and all that stuff. So they're seeing it through their tyranny, and Trump is the protection against the tyranny of the left, or the authoritarians on the left. Like, oh, Biden is Hitler, Biden is a tyrant, right? So again, portraying things as tyrants, Fauci the tyrant, Klaus Schwab the tyrant, Bill Gates the tyrant, right? And so it's this polarization around big Leo themes. So we need our tyrant to push back against their tyrant. Like, Trump always says, they're coming for you. I'm just in the way. Right? So again, but that's been the rise, and that's on the wane, but now it's Aries. So in June 2nd, 2023, we have Jupiter Rahu cycle in Aries is starting. Now again, Aries, very soon the next leader figure will emerge, an Aries figure, a youthful, courageous, brash, and energetic figure. Could also be, again, Aries is also the tyrant type of figure. Literally a dictator, tyrant. Hitler had like 4 planets in Aries, right? So right now we're on the verge of even more potential conflict. And when there's conflict, like we saw, for example, back during these times in 1929, right on the verge of the Great Depression, and there was all kinds of abuses of legal abuse, incompetence, legislative abuse. These times in 1929, after all this excess, led to what came later, which was a world war. Not to be alarmist, but we're about to have this recurrence transit, because this next Jupiter Rahu cycle is the recurrence of this one that happened. The last one was 1929. I might be wrong. I don't think I am. I think this was the last one. If I'm wrong and there was another one, someone please let me know. But I think this was the last one. If it wasn't the last one, it was also one, because it also happened at that time this was May 6th, 1929. We also had the Jupiter Rahu cycle. And again, I think this was the previous one. There might have been one before, but I'll do a whole video on that. But right now we're on the cusp of ending this Jupiter Rahu synodic cycle. there are a couple things that make me also realize or feel like we're also at the end of Trump being the one. There's other reasons why, but I'm not going to go into this. It's not about Trump, and it's such a triggers everybody so much. But the reason this is powerful for me is because, again, I've been watching this stuff for a long time, back into the mid '80s, and it's fascinating how the last two, the previous two Jupiter Rahu conjunctions happened in the signs of the U.S. president. In 2009, it happened in Capricorn, right when a Capricorn president took hold, and we had these Capricorn themes dominant. Much as you think, well, but Obama was this energetic, youthful, progressive. Yeah, he had that appearance. A lot of the legislation, though, was still very conservative, much more right-wing and conservative than the rest of the liberal democracies around the world, just because of the country. And even the things that he passed had all kinds of bureaucratic, corporate, business incentives built into all of it. Very Capricorn, condensing power. And in fact, a lot of that disillusion with the Obama years led to the rise of Trump as an inspiring figure, as an inspiring, oh, this guy, okay, he's coming out and he's brash and he's telling them all that they're all criminals and crooks and all this stuff. Of course, he wound up doing pretty much the same stuff. He didn't really change. Drain the swamp was nothing but a catchphrase. He didn't really drain any of the swamp. He made the swamp deeper. And again, yes, that is a view. You're free to not agree with it, but anyway. But the era of the Leo synodic cycle of Jupiter Rahu is ending, and the Aries is coming. Again, there are political figures now that are on the rise or that are ascendant as we get ready for the next cycle. And so I'll be talking more about that in the months to come. And but again, you also should really learn about these things and how to analyze world events using Vedic astrology, using the, actually knowing when to use outer planets and how to also do these case studies and these charts, and to be able to see deeper than just the media narrative. And again, it's definitely a thing where this allows you to look at the larger cycle rather than just the person or the rhetoric that, because the media is all part of the structure, and, people don't see beyond their media narratives. Astrology gives us a great tool to see the larger picture behind the media, political, oligarchical, structure that's happening in the world. So if you want to see how that stuff is done as well, you can go check that out and look for part 2 of this when I analyze how the last Jupiter Rahu cycle in Aries happened in 1929.